As St. Lucia welcomes new political players into the arena, new strategies have been emerging as to how candidates can connect with the electorate. One such strategy has been to differentiate themselves from the already established and in some cases older candidates and members of parliament who have already completed their higher education. In an exclusive interview with Choice News, Dr. Tennyson Joseph, a leading West Indian political scientist, navigates the roles that academics should play in politics. Dr. Joseph attributed this strategy to a rise in anti-intellectualism, whilst acknowledging that among a people where access to quality education is not granted to all, and as access grows more scarce towards the higher levels of education, his evaluation was that one can be grounded among the people whilst being part of the minority who have benefited from higher education.
I'm not academic, that I am better suited to represent you than somebody who is academic. It's just based on a very false and very broad assumption about who the academic is, because the academic can be grounded too. So that is why you have political parties. So a political party in itself is a form of organization whose mass base is among the mass of the people.
Some seem to believe that anyone could or anyone should be given the chance to govern. However, Dr. Joseph says that this is not necessarily the case.
From the very, very oldest, going as far back as Plato, when he was thinking about what politics is, he always started by saying that what government is the most complex of human enterprises. So he used to equate running a government as the captain of a ship, and he would say that when the other people are on board the ship, the ordinary passengers, they would just see the captain reading his navigation instruments, and they would call him a stargazer because they wouldn't understand what he's trying to do. And he says, none of us go onto the ship and say that we want to run the ship.
Dr. Joseph warns that not every academic is necessarily progressive, contrary to the popular imagery of the radical intellectual, and that even the most oppressive policies were shaped by highly educated people. He marks this as the true betrayals done by academics that underpin the marketability of the hints of anti-intellectualism made by emerging political candidates.
If you're from the poor working class, there are two things that happen to you. When you get up there, and I'm using the word up there generally, you want to turn your back on the class from which you come. And you want to aspire to being somebody else. And that person can end up being very hostile to the population from which they came. On the other hand, you may have another type who is committed to elevating the class from which they came. And they remain grounded. That's the kind that I guess that's the point that you were making about being an academic doesn't necessarily mean that you develop an anti-people consciousness. In many cases, you develop a pro-people consciousness.
On the matter of whether or not a candidate's higher education or lack thereof should bear on voting decisions, Joseph's bottom line was that it matters more what the candidate's history of political opinions and involvement seems to be. In other words, it is the policymaker who makes the policy. For Choice News Now, I am Sienna Dalso.